and welcome to another episode of Video Game Logic. Today's show was recorded on May the 7th, 2019. I'm your host, Gaming Psychologist, and with me, as always, dangling things over my head.
Caffeine Rage, and that sounds a lot less sexy than what it really is.
I know. On today's show, we will, of course, be discussing the games that we played this week. The Sonic movie director, Jeff Fowler, vows to fix the character design. Kerbal Space Program's second expansion lets you do science on the final frontier. Rainbow Six Siege's reverse friendly fire team killing fix is going live tomorrow. A general topic, are AAA game studios scaring off new talent from entering the industry? We'll have a weekly community corner with a focus on this past week's game night, and we'll have a Steam Discovery queue. Timestamps will be in the show notes following their respective topics. Good evening, Rage.
Good evening.
Dangling your fast internet speeds over my head. Probably that conversation is good fodder for Franken content, so it'll show up at some point. But yes, your everyone's internet is better than mine. Sad face. That's the short version of that.
Yeah, I need to buy a modem so I could return this one and save $120 a year.
Yeah,
I don't. I'm not in a huge hurry to do it, just because my options for it are kind of limited, or at least the ones that they support.
Charter charges the same fee whether or not you have your own equipment. So I just said, fuck it, I'll let you guys provide it, and then if it goes wrong, then I'll make you fix it. I think it's like $6 a month on our bill.
Yeah, see,
I was like, I'll just buy my own modem. And they were like, yeah, we still charge you the fee.
Wow.
I'm like, well, yeah, exactly. And the guy was like, this company policy. I'm like, fuck your company
also
policy.
known as, you have no choice, we own you.
Yeah, I don't have a choice. EPB is like a mile down the road, and because of our shitty governor and his stupid laws to put money in Comcast and Charter's pockets, doesn't allow EPB to go any farther. They're right there. For anyone who's unfamiliar with the Chattanooga area, EPB Fiber Optic is one of the number one municipal fiber internet companies or fiber internet providers in the country. Chattanooga is known as Gig City because of EPB Fiber Optic, and they're a mile away from my house. But they were stopped before they came up this way, offering their services. It's very sad. I'm very sad.
You just sit on your lawn and just look off into the distance, in the direction of the nearest nose. Like, one day.
There's a bunch of trees in the way, but I know it's there. I drive past it every day on my way home from work and stare at it longingly. Almost like I'm a stalker. Like, one day, I'll get my hands on you.
Yeah, I just decided to Google your governor, and he has a lot of interesting policies.
A lot of asshole policies. I'm feisty tonight.
Yeah, really?
I don't know why. I don't know if it's just because I had like I'm tired. I had a busy day at work today, but I'm feeling pretty good. I think fingers crossed, I think all this work politics shit from the last couple of weeks is finally blown over. Things are perking back up around the office.
Yeah, now it's national politics again.
Yay. But I can at least, at the end of the day, bury my head in the sand and say, nope, I've had enough internet for today. I can't really do that at my office.
Oh, of course you would pack that. Sorry, I'm still going through the different legislations. Like, wow, this guy's kind of an ass.
Welcome to the South. Granted, you're familiar with that.
Technically, I'm in the South. Both know what the Mason-Dixon line is, and I live south of it.
Yeah, I did not vote for Bill Lee. I voted for Phil Bredesen. He did not win. He did not even come close to winning.
Well, of course.
But
well, to be fair, I didn't vote for my governor either, and then he changed parties, so I definitely won't vote for him.
Yeah. So I saw a thing this week that I want to talk about right at the top of the show.
Oh, boy.
Just briefly.
I swear I didn't
mentioned to
do
you
it.
what this thing was. So I went and saw Endgame this weekend. I'm not going to spoil Endgame. I'm not really going to talk about the movie at all, except for one specific scene that frustrated me. So, in case you don't know, dear listener, Epic and Marvel Studios have had a partnership for the last couple of movies now. In Infinity War, they did a marketing thing where that in Fortnite there was a special...
there's another one going on right now.
Well, yeah, I know. But for Infinity War, there was a special game mode and some cosmetics. And then for Endgame, there has been another special game mode and some more cosmetics tied into the movie. And I don't think there was anything in Infinity War that had to do with Epic Games or Fortnite. Maybe I missed it, but I've seen that movie like a dozen times now, and you think I would have noticed that. But in Endgame, pretty early in the movie, there's a specific scene with several characters for about 15 or 20 seconds interacting with Fortnite. They play it for...
I like how you're saying interacting and not playing.
Yeah, they air quotes play it for like, I don't know, 10 seconds on screen, and then Thor yells at a character whose name is Noob Slayer 69. And he yells at him and insults his mother and says that if he continues to do whatever it is he's doing, harass his friends or whatever, he's gonna fly to his house and do bad things to his mother. And I'm just like, okay, thanks.
So we're back to this?
Yeah. Like, if it was just like, you know, a marketing sort of sponsorship, whatever, and it's just like they're playing Fortnite in the background, that's fine. I mean, that dates it a little bit, but there's plenty of product placement in movies and TV shows, and that's basically just kind of expected at this point. In any project, any, you know, movie development, especially if that nature, you know, as big as Endgame was. But then they, like, specifically, like, make this joke at gamer culture. And I get it. Maybe I'm a little too sensitive to that because I am a gamer and I don't behave like that, and I hate people who behave like that. But it's like, here's what we think of you. And it goes to some other stuff that happens in the movie, like this sort of a character development that happens. I'm not going to say anything else because it's only been out for a couple weeks at this point, and even though it's like the biggest movie in history ever, there's still plenty of people who might have not gotten a chance to go see it who want to. So I won't say anything more than that, but it speaks to some overall character traits that are going on, developments from Infinity War that some of these characters are going through.
That's
it's just like,
less than
really?
savory.
It's like, that's how you're gonna roll with this? Okay. So, I just wanted to point that out. For me, that's gonna date Endgame real quick. Even by next year, or the next couple of years, as Fortnite fades out of consciousness.
Hopefully.
Because, it can't exist in the public conscious forever. Even if it's still a big game.
Yeah,
like,
especially with... I really think Battle Royale is kind of at its peak right now.
Yeah, I do too. Could be wrong, but I agree with you. But even you think of other juggernauts in the industry, World of Warcraft, StarCraft 2, League of Legends, like they have all faded more to the background. They're still big games, big properties. It's not like they're dying or anything, but they're much more in the background. I suspect that will happen to Fortnite in the next couple of years. But that little marketing spot in Endgame will live on forever.
Yeah, at least it's not as bad as the gravity assist in The Martian.
Yeah, it carries the same level of cringe factor for me, but it's at least it's not explaining a gravity assist to the director of NASA.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Ugh.
I also watched another movie this week about a dog going home. I think it was called A Dog's Journey Home. It was for family movie night. My kid picked that movie. It was not a very good movie. It's very clearly a movie for children. The acting is very bad. The special effects are terrible, but my 5-year-old loved it because it had a dog in it and the dog talked to us. Or you could hear the dog's thoughts as if it was talking because, someone was doing voiceover for it. But my kid was like, wow, she talks. The dog talks.
You know, you should introduce him to Homeward Bound.
Yeah, we're going to. Now that he's interested in... We got a whole bunch of dog movies to introduce him to, or a whole bunch of animal movies, I guess. But a Dog's Way Home. Sorry, not A Dog's Journey Home.
I guess Babe is on the list as well.
Yep.
Yeah, which
And
actually beat Apollo 13 for best visuals of that year for the Oscars.
I did not know that.
That's one of those. That's one of those little factoids that, or well, not factoid, but facts that kind of stuck in my mind.
I do appreciate that film and sort of modern or popular culture has came a long way in terms of like LGBTQ issues. Like I know I'm way off in the weeds here, but both Endgame and A Dog's Way Home had character moments in it like that were very clearly like these people are gay, but they're just people. And I'm calling more attention to it than the movie does. And I appreciate that because I know a time, most people know a time, when if you were, an effeminate male character, that was code for evil. You know, the traits that portrayed homosexuality and transgenderism and things like that, code for evil. And I know that still exists. It's not like, oh, it's all gone now. It's cured. But just seeing, like, the most massive movie property in history, and then just like a kids movie as well, like this very wholesome kids movie, just approaching LGBTQ culture as like, yep, this is just a thing that exists. Don't worry about it. It's normal. Just makes me feel happy inside. So way to go, A Dog's Way Home. And also, Endgame. You did it. You win. Hey, probably other movies, but I don't watch as many new movies as I used to. Having a family and, adult responsibilities kind of cuts down on that. I try to play more video games than going to the movie theater.
Well, it's cheaper.
It is. And speaking of video games...
Oh, you're going with that segue.
Yeah, I specifically said it that way on purpose to create a segue.
And then I pointed out.
Absolutely. It's our job to ruin each other's segues. But why don't you go ahead and start... Because we've each got two, and one of them is shared between the two of us. So you can start.
Which I have mine ordered in that way so we could share the second one. But the first one is War Robots. This is a mobile game, but it's also on Steam, so it's one of those weird ones. It's kind of straddling the line between PC and mobile. And based on the reviews on the Steam version, it's practically the same. So let's just roll with it. So it is a mech game, and it was actually in your discovery queue towards the beginning or middle of last year. And that's part of the reason why I grabbed it, is that I saw it pop up on the Google Play Store and thought, that name sounds familiar. And I checked the lists because, we keep the discovery queue list. And I saw that, that was one of yours. So it seemed like a good thing to check out. Oh, boy. I went into this with a tempered expectation, all right? Because it is a mobile game. And it stooped below even that. So let's go with the good first, all right? Because I'll be brief.
Okay.
It actually plays somewhat well with on-screen controls. It has the left... on-screen thumbstick controls essentially your movement in relation to the camera, and the camera pan controls the mech torso. So it actually controls somewhat well, and it has it built around essentially everybody constantly using alpha strikes, using the mech warrior term, where you're pretty much constantly firing all your weapons at all times. You don't have to worry about heat. There is locational damage, but they don't bother to tell you about that until, you have an arm blown off. Pretty varied arenas. They slowly introduce different game modes. Like, at first, it seems like the most popular one, which is the first one that you encounter, is a domination mode, which is a combination team deathmatch and capture point. So you can win via either just destroying the enemy team or just capturing points and holding them for long enough to have the victory timer count out. As you progress through the game, you unlock different mech bays that you could bring more and more mechs into the... robots, because they're definitely not mechs, right?
Right, definitely not.
You could bring more mechs in to essentially have extra lives, and you don't essentially tap out until you run out of all your mechs. So someone that's played for a bit that has more than one mech has a severe advantage, and this game is pay to win out the ass, or I should say out the tailpipe. I mean, more so than usual, actually. But I'll get to that in just a moment. Let's see. Pretty varied environments, like I said. And also, they throw a fair amount of different mech options at you fairly quickly. The problem is that this has mobile game out the wazoo. So let's start with how the mechs operate. All the mechs have a leveling system built into them where you throw some money in, you go through a timer, and the mechs level up. And as they level up, they get more health, they get more speed. And very, very quickly, the timer starts to get a little obscene. The first heavy mech I got, which was within, I would say, 2 hours of gameplay, and that's just me goofing around and trying out the different systems as well. Care to guess how long the timer was to level it up from the base level that I got it at to the next one?
12 hours.
Try twice that.
Oh.
It went to a day pretty much immediately, which is pretty much the kiss of death for me playing a game to begin with. And it's one of those systems where you could only level up one thing at a time, and it's constantly bugging you to level things up. So, you buy a new weapon off the store for the in-game currency. Well, first level up is 5 minutes, then it's 15, then it's a half an hour, then it's an hour. So, you've pretty much got a couple hours into one weapon. And sure, you could throw some of the paid currency into it, which they do kind of trickle in. The top 3 on the winning team gets a pittance of the paid currency. Plus, of course, because this is a mobile game, it has loot boxes. And the loot boxes have... Actually, the loot boxes have a ton of the paid currency in it. But, in order to unlock those, you either have to buy keys, or I should say, multiple keys, because this is a weird system. The base crate, there's 3 different tiers of loot crate in this, alright? The base one, you could either watch an ad or pay 10 keys. The next one is 100 keys, but you can't watch an ad to open that, but it has a lot better stuff. Then the third tier, I think it's like 500 keys or 1,000 keys. And the winning team, the top scorer, alright, mind you, gets 5 keys.
I'm just picturing a giant safe with 1,000 keyholes, and the old man from the Matrix, the
keymaster,
the keymaster, walking up and very slowly unlocking it. And inside is a dried turd.
Yeah, it's just one of those systems where, it feels exploitative right from the beginning. They don't even give that grace period of, this game's kind of cool. Oh. I mean, they bash you over the head with it pretty much immediately. Which, is pretty much what I was expecting. But on top of that, alright, it gets worse. They also have boosters that you can pay some of the paid currency to go into. Now, usually, these type of games do have some sort of, skip the grind booster, which really tells you just how well the leveling up mechanics are paced, right? But But, this one had the experience booster, it had a damage booster, it had a defensive booster, and it had a speed booster. And all of them are separate paid currency buys. And they're very, very limited in time. And it has a VIP system on top of it. Oh, right?
Yeah. I played this game once.
I can't remember if you
2 years ago.
I can't remember if you played it or not. I know it was on your Discovery Cube. I can't remember if you played it.
Yeah, I think I said I've played this on when it was on my Discovery Cube. I think I said I played this on mobile a while back and talked about it for a minute. You're talking about a lot of stuff that I don't remember that I suspect was always in the game, and I only played it for maybe an hour tops. And I was like, okay, this is just mobile game trash, basically. When it comes to just the biggest thing that got me was the timer, how long the timers are.
Yeah,
for
especially how quickly
research
they
and
ramp
upgrade.
How quickly they ramp up, and that you can't stack them. Because if you could stack, leveling up all your weapons overnight, it makes it slightly more palatable. But no. Let's see what else. The heavy mech I got, all right, it had an additional slot on it that allowed me to equip a utility item, all right, to heal myself.
Mm-hmm.
Care to guess?
Care to guess what? Give me a hint.
Care to guess what fuckery went on there?
That the healing item requires charges that cost money.
No, it doesn't require charges. It takes directly out of a paid currency, a completely separate paid currency from the one that gets a trickle income that you could only get, as far as I could tell, from the crates.
Well, there's not really much point of having a healing item then.
Oh, but they also have it positioned right next to the fire button, so you're going to eventually hit that on accident. And there's also, it's really weird how they have this set up where, they have the big fire button, essentially an Alpha Strike, and then they have all the separate weapons. As far as I could tell, you could have at most 4 weapons on a mech. And different mechs have different maximum loadouts and different types of weapons that they could equip. There is no reload mechanic. All the weapons have, or at least all the ones I was able to play with, have essentially a clip system that the only way that they would reload is if you completely empty them. So there was several times that I was out of battle and I was just trying to empty a clip out of a weapon that was, I would say a third ammo left, because there was no reason not to do it. And the weapon individual weapon buttons are so much smaller than the Alpha Fire button that it was actually very difficult for me to be able to hit the individual weapons outside of just trying to empty a weapon. And also there were several times that it would pick up that I was trying to press the weapon fire button when I was just trying to swipe the screen to turn around because someone was trying to flank me.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like there was the fire button was a lot larger than it was showing on my screen. And also because I have a newer phone that has a curved bevel on it. The way that they get around trying to have a complete lack of minimap is, the traditional, little tiny triangles around the edge of the screen. Well, because my phone is in a case and it has a curved screen on it, it was very difficult, if not impossible, to see those arrows half the time. So, it felt like I was flying a bit blind. And on top of that, the lock-on mechanic from this game is just, at times, just brain dead. And that is also something that is on the PC version, is the way that they have the lock-on. Where essentially you point the camera at an enemy, and it does like a soft lock. And then you kind of home in on it. And missile attacks have a timer that essentially counts down to get a hard lock to be able to fire it. Adam, and assuming that you have an indirect fire missile, because some of them are indirect, some of them are direct, of course, right? Well,
Yeah.
there were several times that the match would just start, and I would just get hammered with missiles that I couldn't even see the enemy because they got a lock on me from across the damn map. The map was too small, and the missiles had too long a range, and I had no line of sight. They got a lock on through the building, and that's a default behavior of the lock-on system. The only way to not have a lock-on like that is if you're running a stealth mech, and it doesn't turn you invisible as far as I can tell. It disables that auto lock-on feature. And on top of that, if the enemy mechs, there are several of them like right close to one another, but especially if they're at a distance, it will confuse the ever-living hell out of that auto lock-on. There was one or two times that I nearly killed someone, and the lock-on mechanic said, "Okay, well that guy's dead enough. Let's go pound on this guy for a bit." And I would miss a kill, and some points for it, because all my weapons would snap to this other target, because it has a rather strong auto aim mechanic on it, because it's a mobile game. So not much of a fan of it. I mean, graphically, it doesn't look bad. I mean, it's not amazing, but, once again, mobile game. But I have to say that the PC version looks pretty much the same, which is, pretty much inexcusable. But, I take it I put a lot more time into this than you did, though.
I think so, yeah.
And there's also some pretty hard pay-to-win mechs that also are available out of the crates, of course. Like, there's one called the Phalanx that I'm pretty sure that is only available for the paid currency, which you could eventually grind out for, because, the winning team does get, that pittance. But using the special ability on it, it essentially drops its shield in front of it. It slows it, but, it's taking a hell of a lot less damage in the process. You have to try to flank it, and if you're, getting pounded from a distance, you're not going to flank them. A couple of the mechs have jump jets built into them that feels more like a hindrance than anything else, because there was more than once I just saw someone just, get stuck when they tried to use the jump jets, and I was just able to pick them off because the auto aim is so damn strong. It's one of those games that there's a lot of interesting ideas, but it's just killed by the fact that, it's not only a mobile game, but a greedy one at that. Which is, rather sad, actually, because it actually, except for when the auto-aim just, went completely to shit, it actually handled somewhat well because it's a mech game. It's not trying to be mecha where, everything is, moving at the speed of sound. But because everything is so slow and stompy, it actually handled fairly good, except for, little things like aiming. Also, there was a couple times that I got stuck on, like, an invisible wall because it feels like the hitboxes for the mechs are essentially just big cubes around it instead of, the actual geometry of the mech itself. Or it may just be, the environment has a little bit of wonkiness to it. But it made me sad that, it was so terrible. I'm trying to think of anything else. I mean, they just... Oh, one other thing that highly pissed me off, alright? Everything else angered me. What really pissed me off was every single time that you level, they offer you, hey, you have this new limited time deal. Buy this mech for $1. I bet you I saw $50 worth of mechs in 2 hours in time limited offers. I mean, that's just so manipulative, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
But they make a lot of money that way, though.
Oh, yeah. I bet you this is big with the kids that love their robots, because just the way some of them acted. Also, there's no way to try to coordinate. I mean, I understand that, you definitely don't want voice chat on this, but there's no, like, ping mechanic or anything. There's, nothing to coordinate. So, it's just, trying to herd cats. And because the main game mode is a team, well, actually the two that unlocked, because There's the domination, which, like I said, is team deathmatch with points. But then there's a flat-out team deathmatch mode. That's the 2 unlocked. Both of them team-focused. So, yeah, it feels odd that there's no way to try to coordinate while having a team-focused game. I mean, maybe it unlocks later because I only got to like level 10. Which actually is pretty quick. The first few levels, each battle is pretty much, oh, you leveled up here, have a new deal. And that's the other thing, is just because they offered you so many mechs in such quick succession, because there's such a time investment with each mech, it feels sort of like a sucker's bet to even buy a mech. Because like I said, the heavy mech, the first level up that I had option to get, which was the non-premium currency, I might add, was a day. And I can only imagine that the next one was probably like a day and a half. So there's a huge time investment that makes you really want to hold on to these mechs. But then they offer, start trying to hammer home, oh, you need to buy this mech, you need to buy this one. It's just such a weird conflict of game mechanic and, business model. But hey, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, this is like a whale gamer's dream.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything to add. Just like I said, I played it once for a little while a couple of years ago, and I didn't play for very long.
Yeah,
so.
Well, I realized I didn't really have anything to play, and usually hitting a mobile game is pretty damn quick.
Yeah.
You get a good idea for it, but from the sounds of it, based on the Steam reviews, it seems like the Steam game is pretty much just a direct copy, and there's a lot of talk about extremely long tech upgrade timers. So yeah, it sounds like it's pretty much if you're getting the free to play version on Steam, you're gonna have the same issues.
Yeah. Okie dokie. Well, you want to talk about another free game that does have an engaged cooperative play?
And is actually fairly good, as long as you're not Ghost Shark.
Yeah. So this week for game night, we played Alien Swarm, which is an up to 4-person top-down cooperative shooter that's free to play on Steam. It took us about 2 hours to play through the entire campaign. It was me and you and Jim, and Ghost Shark was around, and he tried to play, but for some reason he couldn't connect. And we tried all the basics: turn it off, turn it back on again, make a new server.
Yeah, he got frustrated with it very quickly and decided not to even bother.
So, but you and I and Jim all played through. We got through the whole campaign that night. This game is a lot of fun. I don't have anything against like top-down twin-stick shooters. They've never been like my
jam,
particular cup of tea. Yeah, never been my jam. But if one's good, I enjoy it, and definitely the cooperative aspect or the cooperative nature of this game makes it a lot easier for me to get into. Overall, I had a good time with it. It's very clearly,
old.
I don't know if it's, well, yeah, but I was gonna say a ripoff of Aliens 2. Or not
I would
Aliens
go with
2.
more of a homage,
Yeah.
Does it feel like quite a ripoff?
Yeah, ripoff might be too strong, but there's definitely tons of very noticeable
Themes.
influence, and in some instances, like outright copies of stuff that is in Alien 2 Electric Boogaloo. But
yeah, I played this back in like 2010, so I knew fairly decently what I was doing. To be fair, it has been 9 years, so it was rusty for me, but outside of getting killed by teammates, I did fairly well. But I also played a lot more conservatively.
We each killed each other a couple of times. Jim played sort of heavy weapons guy. He had a minigun the whole time.
Yeah, which
you were our medic.
Yeah, which if you got in his line of fire, you were pretty much instantly dead.
You were our medic, and then you would kind of swap around some other stuff based on what the mission needed, or what you thought might be more appropriate for the mission, I guess. And then I was our tech guy, so I did all the hacking, and then most of the time I carried an auto turret to drop down for like defensive situations.
Yeah, see, I had a
and
Tesla coil.
I swapped weapons back and forth a few times, but ultimately I just settled on the one that was specific to the tech guys, which is like an upgraded version of the standard assault rifle.
Yeah, I stuck with most of the time an assault rifle and the healing gun, which, yeah, as you may imagine, heals teammates. But also had
Yippers.
I had a Tesla coil that I could drop down that would shock enemies that gets nearby and stun them, and also, of course, deal damage because Tesla.
Right.
But occasionally I would swap to a flamethrower, but AoE weapons and weapons that deal extremely high damage very quickly are a double-edged sword in this game.
Great for killing them aliens, but also great for killing your teammates.
Yeah, because friendly fire is a thing in this one.
Yeah, friendly fire isn't, and you can't turn it off. There's sort of, I think they call it normal and hardcore friendly fire, something like it. But it's like in normal you just take a little damage.
In normal you take a little bit at first, then it quickly ramps up to full.
Yeah, so if you are being
the problem
continually shot.
Yeah, and that's the problem with the minigun is that warning shot is the first bullet. The second one's right behind it.
Yeah, I
mean, I'm not picking on Jim directly because it is a problem with all automatic weapons in this game.
And it was a lot of times too, especially in the beginning, it was my fault for like getting in someone's line of fire. I mean, mistakes do happen, but you can see a laser sight where everyone is aiming, and it takes a little bit getting used to, just sort of watching for it as you're moving around. But after the first couple of levels, I think we got pretty good at that for the most part, at paying better attention to each other's position, watching that laser sight to see who was aiming, and then picking up on the various cues for which character was which, because there are some differences. Like, everyone's wearing like body armor, but there's a few differences. I think each character is a different color, and then your equipment determines what your character looks like to some extent. Everybody's got different weapons, and then like as the tech guy, I had like some extra like doodads on my suit that didn't really do anything other than help to distinguish my character visually from the others.
Hey, this is the tech guy. He has tech.
Yeah,
he's a guy.
The most useful thing that the tech guy had is aside from being the only one who can hack, is the welder.
Does
everybody have access
everyone
to the
had
welder?
Access to that. You were just
okay, never mind.
Because there's the healing beacon, which is medic only. Essentially, there's two weapon slots. It's not really primary and secondary per se, and then there's a utility slot that. For me, I was taking Tesla coils in. And that's why I couldn't pick mine back up. And you could pick up your turret again, was that technically yours was a weapon and mine wasn't.
Yeah. But once the turret ran out of ammo, you couldn't actually reload it unless you found the special ammo crates that were for auto guns. Because I tried to reload it using Jim, because Jim most of the time, because he was using the minigun, took the ammo crate as like his special item that you could drop down and everybody can pick up ammo from. But unless there's a special rule that applies to the turret, I couldn't pick up ammo for the turret from the crate. Although the minigun, Jim had to be completely out of ammo before he could take ammo for the minigun, and it would destroy the entire ammo box to give him his money back. Mm-hmm. As opposed to with the, regular weapons.
Yeah, it ran our clip system where different weapons had different amount of clips. The assault rifle, for me, for example, had 5 clips plus 1 in the gun itself. But also, if you reloaded early, you lost all the ammo in that clip, so it was a semi-realistic system.
And then there's a reload system, which I guess was popular around the time, like an active reload system, where you can hit it like in the sweet spot for a little boost.
But if you miss, you're screwed.
If you miss, your gun jams, and it takes you an extra few seconds to reload.
Essentially,
I mostly just ignored it.
Yeah, I ignored it as well unless I knew the reload was coming. Because, in the middle of a big firefight, by the time you notice you're auto-reloading, you already missed it.
Yeah. I would assume that was probably pretty heavily inspired by Gears of War.
Most likely.
Which, in Gears of War, I got that system pretty down pat. But the Gears of War system had like a little bit of a... there was like the perfect sweet spot where you got a fast reload with a damage boost for whatever weapons you or not weapons, whatever bullets you actually reloaded into the new magazine. And then there was just a larger area that you could reload faster if you got it during that spot. And I didn't play with the reload enough to notice what happened. Because I didn't like to reload unless I was down to maybe like 1 or 2 bullets. Because I didn't want to waste all the ammunition.
Yeah, same
and
here.
ammo was at a premium until near the end. We ran out of ammo several times on those first few missions until we got better at conserving.
Yeah.
For like characters and stuff, there's 4 different character classes with 2 characters for each class that each have their own bonuses to things. There's specific weapons and items that can only be used by certain classes. Lots of stuff can be used by everybody, but the tech guy had a special upgraded version of the assault rifle that had larger magazines and then could fire stun grenades as a secondary fire. The medic had the healing gun. I'm not sure what Jim had. He was the heavy weapons guy. Was there like a minigun? Was he the only one that could use a minigun?
Yeah, he had the minigun, which I'm not sure if it was specific to him or not.
And there's some other stuff as well. And then you get bonuses like in the stats, like, extra health or extra damage with a certain gun or type of gun, that sort of thing. And aside from having different flavor from a story perspective, because between the 2 tech guys, like I played Vegas, who's described as being like a young guy who likes to take chances and things like that. And then I don't remember what the other guy's name was called. I want to say Dutch, but that's wrong. I know that's wrong, but I want to say Dutch.
Yeah. You're thinking of. Now I'm blanking on the anime now. Black Lagoon.
Yeah, but
and I realize you've never seen
the
anime. Oh, you have.
I've seen some of it. I've not seen all of it. Jim, I think you or Jim one suggested it to me.
I think both
a while back, and I watched a few episodes, and I've never gone back to it.
Blasphemy.
But anyways, I mean, it's good. It's just one of those things that's kind of fallen off of my radar, But anyways, depending on which character you take, you get sort of the story flavor for the character plus whatever their bonuses are. And there's not really, aside from a tech guy, because there are certain missions where you have to hack. Aside from a tech guy, there's not really anything that requires you to do something special. I guess there's the one mission where you have to have a flamethrower.
Yeah, but that's, any class could take it.
Yeah, so...
and also, technically, the flamethrower is also very useful on any mission that has a lot of fire because the secondary fire on it is an extinguisher.
Yeah, but there were extinguishers lying around if we ever needed that.
Yeah, true, but...
as well.
Yeah, but juggling weapons can be a bit of a pain.
Yeah, that's fair. Just thinking. I like the... even though it's an older game, I like the aesthetic. Obviously it's a sci-fi game, but I just like that since it's a little bit older, it feels a little bit more blocky.
Yeah.
Which is kind of fun for a sci-fi game.
Yeah. Something that's really neat in it is the bullet time effects whenever certain things happen.
Yeah.
The game slows down and there's a picture-in-picture of, a dramatic event. I think the big one, the first one, is the elevator.
Yeah, definitely the elevator. There's a big service elevator you take downstairs or upstairs or whatever.
Yeah, you're going down deep into this colony, and you can see off in the distance as it slopes down deeper into the planet. And then you notice aliens are on the ceiling and they're coming towards you.
Yeah.
But there's a couple other times that pops up. Usually, because this is a Source game and it's also an older one, they highlight some of the more physics-based, not really puzzles, but elements of it. There's a couple times that you blow up an explosive barrel and it kind of does this Rube Goldberg-esque, opening up the level. Blow up the barrel and a pipe starts to roll and it knocks over a couple of things and makes a bridge for you.
Yeah. Which happened a couple of times. I remember the first time that happened, I had to kill myself because I was out of ammo, and I was the only one left alive. Jim, there was like a pit that was full of, I don't know, acid or toxic gas or something, and Jim fell in by accident and died. I was like, well, I know what I need to do. I know I need to blow up these barrels. I don't have any ammo. I tried punching them. I was like, this probably won't work, but it'd be funny if it blew up and killed me, but didn't do anything. I couldn't find any ammo, so I just had to jump in the pit and die and restart the level.
Yeah,
but
it is technically a Valve game. I mean, it's listed as developed by Valve. It was originally a third-party game, but they brought the team in-house as they were developing it and decided to release the game for free. Overall, it's done really well, and it's a really good free game. And there's no microtransactions. There's no bullshit. There is a leveling system in it, but there's no way to skip it. And even at the end of the campaign, you were what, level 10, level 12?
Yeah, I was in double digits.
Yeah, the max level is 27 for some reason.
It's just an arbitrary number.
Well, I think that's pretty much just the number of weapons that they had, or the number of weapon ideas. Because pretty much every level you're unlocking either a weapon or some sort of support item. And there's a lot of variance in it that allows for different styles of gameplay. There's night vision goggles that you get equipped to, for some of the darker areas, which wasn't really a problem, but if you wanted it, you had it. Different passive upgrades, damage reduction, that sort of thing. Different active armors, grenades, Tesla coils. So there's a lot of variance and a lot of things that you could try out to find what you like. And also you could up the difficulty because things get real quick, even on the normal difficulty.
Yeah, after we beat the first mission, it was like, you did so good. Would you like to upgrade the difficulty to hard? And we were like, no. And we made the right decision. Facehuggers are the worst.
Yeah.
Facehuggers what got us, I think, the most.
Yeah, the first time we encountered it, it jumped right through the crack of the door and onto my face. And the only way to get rid of a facehugger is to heal through it. And it damaged me too much to be able to do that. I am able to heal myself through it. It's just I was too low a damage. And I think I might have gotten shot because people were trying to kill the facehugger.
Yeah, I punched a facehugger off of someone at one point. I got an achievement for it. So it looks like you can do that, but it was pretty hard because I've punched many times before I got him.
See, I didn't know that, but usually whenever I'm playing this, I'm playing the healer. But
you were an excellent healer, sir.
Well, when I wasn't dead.
Yeah, that goes for all of us, though. We all died on more than one occasion.
Yeah.
Jim, he died at the very end. We left him to die.
Yeah, I have to say, I really do like the last mission, but we almost screwed ourselves on it.
When I had welded every door shut behind us.
Yes.
Because I was like, they can't follow us if I weld all the doors shut. But then we needed to escape through all the doors that were welded shut.
Thankfully, the aliens opened them.
Yeah, they did bash down
most of them.
Several doors. I think I only had to reopen one of them.
Yeah, well, to be fair, it was nearly destroyed anyway.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we covered just about everything. Are we missing something?
No, that I think is about it. I will say that I think it's worth a play, and there are a few modded campaigns to be able to go through. It is an older game now. It was released, I think, in 2008, 2009. I know the last time I played it was 2010, if that gives you any idea. So, it's a bit old-fashioned on its game design. Which, damn, that makes me sound or feel old saying, a game released, and way back in 2009 is a bit old-fashioned design. Fuck.
Well, I mean, that's, 10 years ago. So, old-fashioned.
But it is a source game, so as long as you're not Ghost Shark, it should run on just about anything. Sorry, Ghost. Sorry. I don't know what was causing his issue. He just said that.
Me either.
He just said that it wouldn't start, but wouldn't say what it was doing. At least as far as I could tell. So, just a little playful picking. So, I think that's it for Alien Swarm. So, your game.
Indeed. So the only other game that I played this week that I have something new to talk about is Lego Marvel Superheroes, which I have talked about previously within the last couple of months. But, few things. Currently, I'm extremely pissed off at this game. I'll get to that in a minute. I was enjoying it. So, it takes a lot longer to get through things when you're playing cooperatively with a 5-year-old than if you're playing through them by yourself. So probably if you're sitting down to play this with like your 10-year-old, or if you yourself as an adult want to enjoy this game, within 2 to 3 hours, you're going to get to where the game opens up to a big open world scenario, a big thing with DC, or not DC, with New York City and, Grand Theft Auto, but with actual, but with superheroes. Like you can steal cars and drive around and blow stuff up and collect the little
but why would
bricks.
Spider-Man have to steal a car?
So I was playing as the Hulk / Bruce Banner, and you can shrink down to Bruce Banner and then steal a car and drive around faster than you can run around as the Hulk.
That seems wrong somehow.
But, it took me maybe 10 hours to get there with my kid because, God bless his little heart. He tries so hard, but he's 5 and he's still learning the ways of video games and his way around a controller and things. So, and some of the puzzles and stuff that they stick into these Lego games are actually a little bit difficult to figure out the first time. Like once you get it, it's like, okay, this is a very simple puzzle that's fairly repetitive. I know what to do. But sometimes that initial how do I solve this problem can take a while, 10, 15 minutes at a go. But anyways, when it opens up into an open world, it kind of becomes a completely different game. And whenever you go to do missions, they do become the linear type of missions that you've been experiencing so far on the playthrough. But just being able to wander around New York City and teleport up to the helicarrier and skydiving is always fun. And I think there's other areas you can go to that I don't have unlocked yet. But it's just very fun to what do I want to do? Would I like to swing around the city as Spider-Man for a while? Why, yes. Yes, I would. Or, do I want to summon, some iconic vehicles and things that villains have had from the series and drive around in those and blow stuff up? Why, yes. Yes, I would. It's a lot of fun. It's very simple. There's not a bajillion things on the map like you see in
any Ubisoft game ever.
Any Ubisoft game, yeah, or a Rockstar game. There's nothing like that.
Yeah, a Ubisoft game is more icon than map.
Yeah, so you can just enjoy it. You enjoy roaming around and messing with all the different things and finding Easter eggs and stuff like that. I mean, we had a blast just flying around the city for 2 hours the other day. So it's a lot of fun. Now let's talk about the part where it makes me really mad. So this is now the second time this has happened. The first time it happened, I thought that maybe my kid had messed something up. But this game deletes save data or loses it or corrupts it or something. And this is a known problem for the game that has essentially been abandoned. It seems to affect more PS4 players than it does Xbox players, but it does still affect Xbox players. And just for some reason, your save data will disappear. You quit the game, it auto-saves, you're all happy with your progress. You come back the next day or in a couple of days, ready. My kid's like, Daddy, I'm ready. Let's, go finish whatever we were doing. It's like, okay, son, load the game up. And it plays the intro cutscene instead of just going straight to the main menu. And I'm like, oh no. When this happened last time, I lost all my progress and we had to start over. And that's where it was at. We'd lost all of our progress and we had to start over. And I was like, you know what, son? We're not playing this tonight. Daddy's too mad at it. I'm really frustrated. Our save game is gone. We can't start back where we were. We had just gotten Wolverine. And my kid likes Wolverine. and fighting people with the big claws. And there were a couple of suggestions for quick fixes online, which I tried, and it didn't help at all. I'm going to see if I can find some way to recover the data, if it's on there somewhere, but I suspect it's gone, probably wafted away forever and replaced on the cloud. And just like a quick perusal has not revealed any easy way to find specific files and things that are stored on the console. Like, you can basically see, like,
where it
generally where it is and, like, save files or whatever, but you can't manage those folders from within the console. So
okay, random idea.
Sure.
Tell Dropbox to constantly keep that folder updated so you could revert it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. But yeah, I still stand by what I said a few weeks ago. Like, it's a very fun game. It's great to play with kids of just about any age, especially if they like superheroes and stuff like that. Otherwise, I think it's a good introduction for kids. My son has, even before we started playing this, started liking superheroes. But after playing just what he calls Lego superheroes, he has gotten much more interested in superheroes and supervillains and stuff. So I'm trying to nurture that. And this game goes a pretty good way to doing that, except for the fact that it keeps losing our save data. This is the second time this has happened, and I got really mad at it. Perhaps irrationally mad.
No, I would say irrationally mad at this point.
There was nearly swearing, much swearing in front of my own child. Try to refrain from that. Ultimately at the end of the day, they're just words. But I don't want my 5-year-old going to school and being like, my daddy says fuck you. It's like, I don't want that to happen. So I refrain from swearing in front of him as much as possible. But anyways, yeah, that's it for the games that I played this week. So if you don't have anything else to add, I think we can go ahead and move it on along to our first news topic. Or I guess if you don't need a break as well, you can take a break too if you need one. Okay?
Just need a cough drop.
Just gonna take
which thankfully I have some right here.
Just took a sip of a beverage. Our first news story of the week: Sonic movie director Jeff Fowler vows to fix the character's design. So, universally, the Sonic trailer was hated. Aside from mocked. Mocked. Mostly everybody hates the character design of Sonic. Fixing Sonic's character design does not fix that movie, but at least then it doesn't look quite so much like hot, scary garbage. So a huge amount of criticism that's been thrown at that game is how bad Sonic looks. And the studio, or the director, rather, and I guess this is a decision that would probably require studio backing, but I can't say that for sure, has said, you know what? We hear you guys loud and clear. We're going to change Sonic's design. Like, boom. And people have been like, yay!
And there was much rejoicing.
Indeed. But I have a little bit of a conspiracy theory about this, and it's a pretty common theory. Like, I'm not the only person that I've seen, like, posit about this on the internet. But I think that they made this design for whatever. Someone in a boardroom who had no idea what Sonic was and what the kids these days are into was just like, yeah, that'll work. He's like a hedgehog that looks kind of like a man. And so they went ahead and made him that way. But anyway, so that they were at that point, like, someone designed it and thought, like, yeah, this is great. And then they did all their focus testing.
Because, of course, there's focus testing.
Yeah, and most of the people that showed up were like, yeah, this looks like really creepy and weird. But then they didn't do anything about it until, the last minute. And then it's like, oh shit, we know everybody hates this. We've got these trailers. We're on a deadline. We got to get it working. Let's go ahead and start working on it. Put the trailer out. And if by some miracle people are okay with it, then we don't have to worry about it. But when they probably are going to hate it based on all of our testing, then we can just say, oh no, we hear you. We're working on a new Sonic, and we'll have already been working on him for a while. Like, that's what I'm thinking.
I'm not viewing malice in this. I'm just viewing mass incompetence. the suits that were in charge of this movie at Paramount, they think they know better. So, they think, why does he have only one eye? Why is he a Cyclops? Right?
Yeah. One eye with two pupils.
Yeah, and there's a article also in the show notes that the director for Detective Pikachu is saying that he has no idea how they're going to redo it in 6 months for the opening of this piece of trash. Because, of course, it has, just before a Christmas opening, because, it's a kid's movie.
Right.
Because, what kid doesn't need a scream themselves awake nightmare, right? So.
Should be a Halloween release.
But it's one of those things that I think it's just that they just didn't work with a Sega. And it was a suit that, just thought that they knew better. Because the article that I have in the show notes talks about how the director for Detective Pikachu talked about how they worked on the character design for 2 years and studied animals and their movements to be able to make the Pokemon move more realistically, because it's a sort of a bridge between a realistic version of Pokemon while still respecting their overall character design.
Yeah, I mean, it's very clear that
and it feels
Detective
weird
Pikachu,
because at first I thought it looked really weird, and yes, there are some designs that do not translate well. But
there are plenty of Pokemon though that do look weird and unsettling, and then you make them more realistic, and that sort of grows with it.
Yeah, true. It goes from the edge to right down to the uncanny valley.
Yeah, but again, the difference between that, even some of the weirder Pokemon, are like you can tell that they were trying to do, get it as close to the original art as possible.
Well, also
whereas this just like threw it all out the window.
No. The real difference is intention. Those Pokemon are meant to look a little creepy, a little weird. Sonic isn't supposed to look like that.
No, Sonic's supposed to be like happy and carefree and
loves chili dogs for some reason.
Just like a chill dude.
I think he's just gas powered. He doesn't run fast. He just has a lot of gas. Yeah,
a lot of internal combustion.
Yeah, he's not the blue streak. He's the brown streak.
But yeah, that's going back for a second. That's my conspiracy theory about this: is that they already knew and were already working on the fix, and they went ahead and released it as is, so that they could capitalize on the positive PR of saying, no, we're going to change it to reflect more of the original artistic vision, or however it was that they put it.
Yeah, I guess I just prescribe to the idea of don't attribute to malice what can be explained by incompetence.
Yeah, I mean, you're not as big into the film industry and film as I am, but the film industry is the king of this shit. Like, the only thing really that the gaming industry has got over on the film industry is that the game industry somehow figured out this repetitive or repeat monetization thing with microtransactions and stuff like that. As soon as film figures out, or the film industry figures out how to do that, it will happen.
Well, the film
just
industry
as much,
at one point tried to do disposable DVDs for rentals.
Yeah. Do you watch Technology Connections as well?
I saw it on my feed, but I remembered it from back in the day. I never had one, but I knew they existed beforehand.
Okay. I saw his YouTube video from last week or maybe 2 weeks ago on the disposable DVD that, just in case you're wondering, you're like, how the hell does that work? It was essentially hermetically sealed inside of some vacuum sealed plastic or whatever. And it had a chemical compound
when it
on the disc itself. Yeah, it obscures the disc so the laser can't read it.
Yeah, and for some reason, not for some reason, but whenever I hear the term hermetically sealed, I'm thinking Late Night with Johnny Carson.
I know who Johnny Carson is, but I've never seen Late Night with Johnny Carson. Before my time.
Well, one of the things was he would do a fake fortune teller.
Yeah.
And all the questions that he would answer that was sealed in an envelope were hermetically sealed in a mayonnaise jar on such and such front porch for the last 3 days or something, you know?
Gotcha.
That's one of those bits that you need to go back and watch, I think, because I think you enjoy it. Even though it's, it's absolutely ancient and actually older than you.
Yeah. Definitely older than me. I'll check that out at some point. I'll throw it on the pile, on the list.
Thanks to subject you to. I still have the Hitler movie that you need to watch.
Yep, I'm planning on watching that Friday. Okay. Do you have anything else to add to this topic, or are you ready to move on to the next news topic?
I'm just, I'll be surprised if they actually pull this off in 6 months and have it actually look decent, because even though, this is, rather trash-looking CGI to begin with, it still takes time to do. And if they do a full redesign and changes proportions, either they're going to have to, have Sonic on, a soapbox out of frame, or, all the actors are going to be looking in the wrong position, because that's the other thing, is that a lot of the art that people did for reimagining the character design, they changed the proportions because he had these freakishly long legs. I mean, even more so than the new Sonic designs from Sega. To the point that he looked like he got stretched.
You just beef him up a little bit. Make Sonic a big beefy boy. Although that would be its own version of weird. I bet you could do a lot more in post than you realize. To adjust line of sight and shot tracking and things like that.
Yeah, it also depends on just how they shot it. If how much cropping of the actual film is done in post, because maybe they could, but it's there's a lot of nuance. But I think wouldn't go into this type of movie. Let's be perfectly honest to begin with.
No, I suspect if there's issues, what they'll do is they'll hide it with cuts and use digital inserts of things, or maybe cutaways, so that you don't see as much of Sonic interacting with the other people on screen. It's just more of him doing stuff that we're watching.
And more Gangster's
Your brain
Paradise.
Never thinks about. Yeah.
Your
brain never thinks about how small Sonic is.
Yeah, Jim Sterling went on and on about Gangster's Paradise.
It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, aside from what he said and other people have said, is everybody's trying to do the Guardians of the Galaxy, Suicide Squad thing. Just get Guardians of the Galaxy was a good movie though, and Suicide Squad sucked ass. But just get a soundtrack or some memorable songs, and it's you're golden.
I guess they kind of licensed Queen for this piece of shit.
The songs have to make sense too.
Can't Stop Me Now.
Yeah, Don't Stop Me Now would have been a good one. Don't stop me now, because I'm having such a good time.
That would have kind of fit with Sonic's attitude a little bit.
Yeah.
More than Gangster's Paradise, at least. But like I said last week, I think Amish Paradise would have more about his attitude.
There's a bunch of movies about driving cars fast that would fit well with Sonic's Gotta Go Fast. But instead, they picked Gangster's Paradise. I guess focus testing told them that was in right now with the kids these days.
No, I think I know why. I think it was cheap.
Cheap, but also catchy.
Cheap, but somewhat memorable.
Yeah.
Plus, it would really resonate with the parents, right?
Yeah, that's from their generation.
I feel sorry for any parent that's drugged to this movie, let alone more than once.
Yeah, thankfully my kid doesn't even know who Sonic is, despite the fact that he has seen him and played him in several video games.
And he'll never know now, because Sonic is dead.
Yeah. Sonic's kind of sort of been dead for a while now. They keep bringing him back, though, and trying to give him new life. I don't think this one's going to succeed.
It makes me wonder, are they going to do a tie-in video game with this piece of shit?
Oh, God. Please no. But it wouldn't surprise me if they did.
A tie-in... No. A tie-in mobile game that has a gacha mechanic and all the Jim Carrey you could ever stand.
You know, Sonic would be, like, rife for a gacha mechanic, because there's a lot of Sonic characters and a lot of variations on each of those characters.
No, wait. Okay, here we go. A ripoff of Pokemon Go.
Sonic gotta go fast.
Yeah, and you have to go around and save all the animals.
Sonic gotta go fast to the poles. I see what I did there. Deep cuts on tonight's show.
Oh yeah, you're cutting as usual.
Indeed.
Yeah, like a dull razor.
Yeah, that feels about right.
So speaking of cutting edge to the space age, or do you have more to say?
No, I'm good. Let's go to the space age.
So Kerbal Space Program's second expansion allows you to do science on the final frontier. Hey, a new Kerbal DLC is coming out. And in memory of Biff, we had to talk about it. We actually don't know if Biff's dead, but it feels right. Wait, that sounds wrong
This
somehow.
This one seems pretty cool. I mean, I don't know specifically if they're incorporating mods or if they just are working with the mod makers or maybe just saw these mods and were like, hey, we want to put this in the game. But it's doing things like building bases on planets.
Well, no, I think you have this moons. A little bit off. This is the... this is Infernal Robotics. So, robotic parts. Movable robotic parts, I might add. The surface science experiments, as well as more science experiments in general. So, D-Magic plus surface experiments.
Yeah.
So, it's not really base building yet.
Well, didn't it said in the article, though, that, like, you would have to create... Did I misread it? I thought it said create, like, habitats or something and power them in order to run experiments.
Well, that's more what the game already has with the science lab. Because how Kerbal runs with the stock science lab is you're able to grab data and essentially process it on site for more science. So it's more the stock space station, only there's more options for data. That's what I'm reading it as. So
I'm reading it as something new, just the way it's
well, the new part
written.
from what I saw on the press release, not the article, is that it's the surface science pack.
Oh, okay. I didn't look at I just looked at the article, not the press release.
Yeah, take a look at the announcement and you'll see robotic parts. They are adding surface features, which is something that Kerbal desperately needed something to actually look at. And go explore. Plus, they're interactable to some degree. Deployed science, which that's the bases that they're talking about. Bringing equipment for experiments. And they're also incorporating the Kerbal inventory system, so Kerbals can actually pick up stuff and carry it around. Seismometers, weather stations, and there's plenty more experiments for you to try out. And plus a new spacesuit. I have to admit, don't really care for the new look of the spacesuit. It looks... boy, this is going to sound a little odd, but let's go with it. It looks a little too space age, because I like the more Mercury Apollo style spacesuits that they have in the base game.
Yeah, I didn't even think about the design. I just was like, okay, cool, new spacesuit.
Yeah, but that looks
typically care for that sort of thing.
You know?
Yeah, that's fair.
But the main takeaway from this outside of just having base support for these mods in the game for them to expand upon them, because that's what the real bonus for bringing mods in house is having them hooked directly into the game. Is that especially Infernal Robotics was notorious for summoning the Kraken and just doing some weird things. Some of my first things I did in Kerbal was I had Infernal Robotics, and there were times that the spacecraft would just start dancing because it would introduce a wobble.
To be fair, that would happen sometimes without Infernal Robotics.
Well, installing Infernal Robotics is basically giving a Kraken a pair of tap dancing shoes, you know?
Right. Makes sense. I didn't use Infernal Robotics all that much. I messed with it a little bit, but I never got super into it.
I absolutely loved Infernal Robotics. It allowed you to do a lot of fun stuff, especially if you took the time to design a rover that folded up. I never had it quite right, but I was a good ways to a rover that essentially just folded in on itself into like a little cube. The version of Infernal Robotics I had was not exactly stable. So every time I would try to deploy it, there was a good chance of, instead of slowly deploying like it's supposed to, the Kraken would pick it up and throw it like a die.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Like I said, Infernal Robotics did some weird things. It's just the way it introduced torque to the system. But the fact that this is, let me read this. Brand new robotic parts add a whole new level of creativity to your craft. These parts will include some new control mechanics and let you create all sorts of innovative vehicles and crazy contraptions to aid the Kerbals in exploring their universe. And it has essentially 2 Scorpion rovers, as well as feet on them as well. So there's some sort of robotic foot going on there. That's actually the nose cone, isn't it? That's one thing about Kerbal that I always found amazing. It's just the creativity of some of the designers. I was never that creative. I just installed procedural parts, but still, right?
Yeah, I either did the same with procedurals or was always just completely function over form.
I was a little bit of both because I typically ran Ferrum Aerospace, so I had to be a little bit aerodynamic.
Yeah.
And that was even before the stock aero model was changed to be essentially a Ferrum Light, where it took a lot more cues from your overall design and how aerodynamic it is. Because before, it didn't really matter the shape of your craft. It was more how many boosters you had on it.
Right. I also usually ran Ferrum Aerospace, but...
Yeah, because we hate ourselves, right?
You could still do a lot of function over form with Ferrum, though, depending on, you could do a biplane. Those were able to not bypass, but, kind of cheat the system a little bit. Or using propellers, actually, because of the way that they worked in Kerbal.
Well, you're talking about propellers or the Kraken engines that they have now. Or have you seen those?
No. Yeah, I've seen some of those.
That's just insane.
But no, I'm talking about modded propellers.
The Kraken engines are just insane what people are doing now. Essentially, 2 craft that are held together by fairings, as far as I can tell. It's amazing the ingenuity that's going on with them,
Yeah.
And I think we're coming up a bit short on this one because it's more of just an announcement. Is there a date on this? I didn't see one.
I don't remember seeing one.
May 30th for $15.
Oh, well, there you go. So the end of the month.
Well, not quite, but close enough.
Well, I mean, right there. One more day. That's the end of the month.
You have to be precise in space, right?
Yes. Mostly.
Otherwise, you just have the probe crash in the ground because you didn't convert to metric and you're still using Imperial.
That's happened before. I know exactly what you're referring to. Okie dokie. Let's go ahead and scoot on over to our next news topic then and discuss Rainbow Six Siege Reverse Friendly Fire. Their team killing fix is going live tomorrow. That is tomorrow from day of recording. So this was neat. I
hadn't seen anything
thought it was
like
interesting.
This. Yeah, and that's why I put it on the docket, was that it looked interesting and I hadn't seen anything quite like it.
There's sort of this element in World of Warships and the fact of if you do too much team killing, eventually you get flagged as a team killer, and then any damage you do to your allies is reflected back onto you. I believe,
Oh,
tenfold.
they changed that? Because before, if you were flagged, it was just, you're fair game to your teammates.
No, after you become flagged, once your icon goes pink, which is the friendly fire, like you've had too much friendly fire in World of Warships, you take reflective damage. It might not be 10 times, but you take more damage than you dish out to your teammates.
Well, this system is that after you kill somebody, or team kill, they have an option to say, okay, that was accidental, or that was on purpose. Or if they abstain from voting. If they abstain from voting or say it was on purpose, they get flagged as a team killer, and then any damage that they do is reflected upon them. Instead of dealing damage at all to their teammate, as far as I could tell. Which is an interesting solution to their problem, because team killing has been a bit of a griefing problem for Rainbow Six Siege, essentially from when it went live, from what I can tell. So,
yeah,
fairly innovative solution on this. It makes me wonder just who's going to say it's accidental, though, especially, since it defaults to on purpose, even if they don't vote. Someone, gets mad and, walks away. Well, they're still going to default to the yes, it was on purpose. And the fact that if you get flagged too often, you're going to get into the punishment system on top of it. It makes me a little leery that they're going a little too far over, but I also don't play Rainbow Six Siege, so I'm not sure just how often you team kill on accident. It's one of those games that it looks neat, but I think it would just infuriate me far too much.
Yeah, that's fair. Depending on how easy it is to abuse to do stuff to other players, we could see,
and it does
might see how bad it is.
And it does seem like this is the first stage of a total fix, because they do talk about explosives still being an issue that they're going to address later on. But that's something that they're going to deal with later. Right now, they're worried about this part of the problem. Which, this, like I said, it has been a problem for Rainbow Six Siege, and because it's a tactical game, losing one teammate can quickly change the course of the game.
Yeah.
And this is and it's also small teams. It's what, 5v5? And no respawns?
Yeah. No respawns during the match. You only respawn during a round, when the rounds change. But yeah, it's 5v5. I think there's different modes, though, for different amounts of people, but the default is 5v5. I've actually never played Siege. I've seen a few people play it and seen it featured in a lot of YouTube videos.
Yeah, it's an interesting looking game because there's a lot of tactics to it, but it's also a very quick time to death. Like, there's a lot of, knock out a board to create a peephole and shoot people as they come around a corner thing. It's a lot. It requires a lot of memorization, and also it did go free to play, but it's one of those games that is very grindy if you try to play it free to play, if memory serves correctly. And there's
I think the best.
I was going to say there's also a starter edition that is pretty much a sucker's bet, because the way that they have the grinding mechanic set up, it takes forever to unlock new operators, new classes, essentially. So you're better off just waiting for the full game to go on sale if you want to, buy into premium.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
I don't know what I was gonna say. It's okay. It's not. I mean, it's not. I'm not like blaming you, but sort of. That thought has left my brain. Are there other games that you've seen do similar systems to this? Like, I just pointed out World of Warships, but is there anything else you can think of?
This was the first one I saw, but I didn't really pay attention to World of Warships, so I didn't know that mechanic was in there. So the fact that they're doing something different is rather interesting.
Yeah, this whole voting on thing is interesting and definitely different. Because, like I said, in World Warships, it's just automatic whenever you do.
Yeah, but you also have to do it to several people in a short amount of time. So, there's a lot, more leadway there. That's why I'm a little leery that this may be abused a little bit, or potentially abused. Yeah. Especially that I think that's what sticks with me is the default to yes. If it was someone has to say yes, that was on purpose, and it defaulted to no. I think that would be a little bit of a better system, but I think that we're splitting hairs at that point. It really depends on just how many times you have to be voted, as a purposeful team killer before you start seeing consequences.
Yeah, I think 1 is not enough. 3 maybe? You can kill somebody by accident 1 or even 2 times in a match if it's real tight or, you make a mistake or whatever. But I feel like if you do it 3 or more times, you're either just genuinely doing it on purpose or you're very bad and careless at the game and you're more of a detriment to your team than a help.
I'm helping. But yeah, it's just that's the only thing that has me kind of take pause with this system is that default to yes. But also, like I said, it depends on just how overall the entire system works beyond the reflective damage.
Yeah. When does it? Let's see, it goes live. Has it been? Does it say anything about being up in beta or something? Or is tomorrow the first day it's tested?
I think tomorrow is the first day
period.
it's tested at all because I didn't see anything about a beta.
Okay. Well, I can't wait to see the inevitable YouTube video or article posted to Reddit that's this thing ruins the game that I love so much. Just ruins everything about it.
Yeah, I'm just trying. Yeah, explosives will still deal damage to teammates even under reflective friendly fire. This is not intended and will be fixed in Season 2. Let's see. You can still cause damage, but... oh, wait, that's on the explosives. Okay, the effect of reverse friendly fire. So, on thrown objects, primary and secondary weapons, direct hits from thrown unique gadgets. The Maverick's torch, so... after it, the teammates will not receive damage whatsoever, and will reverse damage on dealt. So it would they're basically just shrugging it off and say, "I'm rubber, you're glue."
Right. Thinking of Taylor Swift "Shake It Off" in my head right now.
Well, we did invoke the name of Biff, so
we did do that. We have to scare him away with an appearance from Taylor Swift.
It looks like the exception is claymores, but that's. These explosives do not trigger reverse friendly fire. Under reverse friendly fire, these also do not deal reverse damage, and can continue to damage teammates. So it looks like it's more the triggered or area of effect or area triggered explosives, and that's not going to be a reverted change from what I could tell.
That makes sense, though. You drop a claymore, you run off and leave it.
This can change in the future with feedback and further game design considerations. So it's possible to change it later on, but that would be like reverse griefing. Somebody gets tagged with it, and then people purposely trigger a claymore.
Yeah, so what they're doing with that makes sense.
Let's see. Further changes for reverse friendly fire will continue during Year 4, Season 2. We will introduce situations where the system can activate for the whole squad. How gadgets will react and behave under reverse friendly fire will also be fine-tuned based on data and feedback. We look forward to sharing future developments with you. So, looks like, this is the first time they're testing this. Good luck, right?
Yeah.
I guess they don't have beta servers? Do you not have beta?
Maybe they just don't give a shit.
Well, this is Ubisoft, so... I mean, they are socially conscious at times, but other times they're just, a little bit unaware.
Yeah. Lots of times.
So, it'll be interesting to see just how, this breaks the game. And, this kills the game for everyone, right?
Yeah.
I look forward to following on Steam charts. Oh, wait.
I think it's good overall. I think it's a positive change overall.
I think it's a good idea. It's just going to be, the fine-tuning of it. And if it scares off people. Because I think that's the other thing is that it has the potential to scare off people for that may accidentally do it every so often, just because how it pretty much seems like it'll default to the reverse friendly fire no matter what. Well, I should say it will default unless specifically told not to. But yeah, I
wish that the neutral option didn't actually do anything, sort of ignoring it.
That's my big takeaway from it. Especially, I imagine that, tense situation, somebody gets killed by friendly fire, they get frustrated, stand up, step away for a moment, and they miss the vote. I could easily see that happen.
So our final topic of the night, it's a sort of a general topic that's a combination of a few recent news topics and some ongoing discussions about the game industry itself. Are AAA game studios scaring off new talent from entering the industry? There's a lot of stuff that's coming out here lately, or maybe over the last 6 months or so, and the frequency of the story seems to be, increasing. These studios who are easily forcing, or maybe forcing is the wrong way to say it based on how they talk about it, but essentially more and more people are coming out saying, I'm having to work like 60, 70, 80, 100-hour work weeks on the regular because of my, because of the parent companies, or because of the company's, development schedule, or unwillingness to hire more people, or unwillingness to, do bunches of stuff, basically.
Yeah, there was an article.
I could go on and on.
That I didn't put on the docket, but it was Blizzard talking about how they've dramatically cut back on the amount of crunch time for World of Warcraft. So the fact that World of Warcraft had crunch time, should say something, right?
Yeah, but this sort of always online, everything games as service deal that the industry has just gone overboard on, bet the farm on, essentially, is creating a never-ending development cycle, a never-ending crunch cycle, where that there's constant demand for new content, new patches.
Well, not just that, but also the fact that they treat employees as a disposable resource. I mean, once again, Blizzard, they cut how many jobs just this year?
What was it, 800 or 900?
Yeah, it was a good chunk of their esports with some artists as well. I don't think the programmers got hit as hard, but it's still, in the game development field.
Yeah. Because game development is a pretty broad field with, sound design, music, coding, art, and all kinds of stuff goes into making a game.
Just this week we have, Randy Pitchford, being Randy Pitchford, an article about Star Citizen and some of the, shenanigans going on with the development of that. We had Riot Games have an employee walkout because of...
Riot Games had an employee riot.
This was more orderly.
I know, but I couldn't resist. I'll show myself out now.
Yeah, get out. Get in the crate.
Don't put me there. I don't know if it'll mess with Craig's recording.
Okay, I'll force you in the crate later.
Okay. But I can't remember if it was this week or last week, but there was a similar story at Epic where the Fortnite development team was being forced into constant crunch. Was it late last year or early this year that it was Rockstar with their 100-hour weeks for Red Dead 2?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's a never-ending cycle of just, this developer has horrible working conditions. This developer cheated out overtime. This developer didn't pay off their employees and closed down. It's just, there's just so many horror stories that, as I was sitting here looking at the docket, it's like, are we going to have, not a drought is not quite the proper term for this, but a downturn on just the amount of good talent coming into the gaming industry just because of all the horror stories. And it seemed like, a valid question. where
So, sorry,
well,
go ahead.
there's the call to unionize, but that seems to be just going nowhere. Honestly,
Yeah.
and there's been calls for it over and over again, but politicians just treating game developers as the new or I shouldn't say even the old source of all ill in the world. And then let's throw the Avengers in it as well. Then the resurgence of hey, gamers are a bunch of jokes, right?
Yeah.
So it's not seen as a serious industry, and part of me just is wondering just how much this is turning off future developers.
I can't. I've never developed a video game, but there are some parallels to this that I've seen in the mental health field. So I'll talk about that a little bit from my perspective and what I see happening and what I think is going to happen more and more in the games industry. And we've seen it a lot in the last few years, but I think we'll see it increase even more in the next maybe decade as we see how these big AAA studios decide whatever the next big thing is, or however they're going to refocus.
Yeah, and I should say before we get going, I don't think it's going to get to the point where there's no talent left for the gaming industry. I don't think that it's going to be like that. But I do think that we're going to be missing out on some really good artists, some really good writers, some really good developers, because they will be scared off by all these horror stories. Or at least I should say the ones that are paying attention. And the ones that aren't are going to be blindsided by this, and I think they'll skedaddle.
Yeah. So the biggest parallel that I see between the AAA gaming industry and the mental health field is that there's this attitude that is coming down from sort of on high, where it's all about the numbers. Always all about the numbers. And their metrics, I'm sure, are different than the kind of metrics that we look at, but it stops being about, in their case, it would be the craft. In my case, it's the patient or the client. But in their case, it would be about their craft. Because when you see a lot of these companies like, EA, Electronic Arts, and what their old mission statement were, and we've referred to this a few times.
That open letter.
Yeah. Yeah, we've referred back to that a couple of times, and it's like, you see these companies, they used to have a great deal of passion and drive,
and soul,
and soul that they put into their work, whereas now it's just assembly line. How can we get the most return on every investment? And I understand that it's always been a business. They always have to make money in order to keep going forward. I'm not saying that they should abandon that or say they never should have left, their roots in that case. Like, I get it. They got to make money. Everybody's got to eat. People want to get rich, that sort of thing. But as the industry has become increasingly greedy and increasingly, not even trying to hide it anymore, that all they chase is, money, higher returns on investments and stuff. What I think is going to start happening is that you're going to have people that come out of school, come out of, whatever programs that they're in, and find a company, any AAA company, and work there for 2 or 3 years. Complete a game or be part of a team that completes a game, maybe 2, and then you move on. You take that experience and you use that to get any kind of training or certification that you need, and then you move on and you start your own studio or join a smaller, more independent team. Because that's what essentially has happened in the mental health field in the last decade, maybe 15 years. So, before I started, but, I've kind of been watching it as I've gone along and I'm experiencing it now. Like, what happens a lot of times is that, we are considered disposable, essentially. The higher up you are on the food chain, the more sort of pushback you can give. And as a therapist, compared to, say, a case manager or a social worker or something like that, I do have a bit more sort of power in that situation. But the way that I look at my job and most of the other therapists that I work with and social workers and stuff is it's like, okay, the type of place that we're at, like, yes, we are doing this because we want to help people. We are doing this because we want to further essentially our career, our craft, comparing it to game design. But we're only going to be here 2, 3, 4 years, get those certifications that we need, get the experience to make a resume look good. And then the idea is to go to a smaller, more independent counseling center. So for me, it would be either my own private practice or a group, a small group counseling center with maybe a half dozen therapists and, caseworkers or something that work there. Everybody has smaller caseloads. You get a larger piece of the pie in terms of like the insurance money that you make, and you don't, find yourself buried in paperwork every day. And I just see that as a pretty strong parallel. Essentially, you use the big, massive companies as a way to get that experience. And instead of trying to move up within where you're at, instead of trying to establish a higher, better position there, once you've gotten what you need to further your own career goals, you move on. And I think that that's going to happen to a much higher extent. Things like that, I think, always happen in every industry and every company. You've got people who just want to get the experience that they need for the certification, the license, the next level in their degree, whatever.
Well, it's going to be
and
a
then
lot
they
more
move on.
high profile in gaming.
Right, but I think that you're going to start seeing that become the norm instead of people trying to stay on with a studio to try and get maybe a higher position or a position with higher responsibilities or something like that. You're going to see a lot more middle managers and shit like that within the gaming industry as more and more people sort of start to come and go, just getting something on their resume, getting that experience, those certifications, and then moving on to a studio that better fits their needs, something within the AA or the indie sector, or maybe even starting more, single or small team development indie studios of their own. I think that's going to become much, much, the norm, a much higher rate of that than exists now, or that has existed in the past, maybe the last 5-10 years.
Yeah, I think where it's going to be a bit different in gaming is, at least for now, where certain creators are given more of a spotlight. As this shift happens, I think we're going to see more and more of a corporate focus for bigger games, where it's not going to be, it's not going to be the Chris Roberts of today, It's going to be, the corporate mascot, the corporate figurehead from this studio that is their mouthpiece. Almost like how it is in politics, how you have the press agent.
Yeah. I think you get that to some extent from some of these companies, like Phil Spencer for Microsoft. It's more
controlled.
Yeah.
Where it's not going to be talking about, the team. It's going to be a lot more detached as well, which I think is going to make the game seem a lot more disingenuous, or I should say talking about it, because they won't have the interior knowledge. So, E3 is going to be interesting in a few years, I should say. Assuming there even is an E3, because, this year it's starting to look a little shaky, isn't it?
Yeah. Only a handful of the big companies are left to do presentations.
Well, at least I won't feel like killing myself this year. Most likely.
I am a therapist, right? We can talk about these feelings that you have, develop a safety plan, that sort of thing.
Well, I don't need one now. EA's not presenting a show.
Very true. Very true. You've gotten out of that bad relationship.
I just had a thought. Do you think Devolver Digital is going to be like the last of E3, and they're just going to go insane?
Oh, it's Devolver Digital, and the E's will be 3s.
I mean, Devolver has this whole Robocop thing going on now.
That was, I think, pretty much my whole point of what I had to say.
That you think it's just going to be people using the AAA industry as kind of like a leg up to get the money ahead?
Yeah.
But the problem with that is if this happens too much, I think we're going to see the AAA gaming industry start forcing people into non-compete contracts.
Yeah, but there are plenty of game companies that do that already.
Yeah, true.
Make employees sign non-competes to not go work for, design studios that do similar games.
Well, I
or
think
whatever.
they would bribe.
I remember from. Yeah. But I mean, those non-competes would all have, a statute of limitations on them for how long they would last and certain stipulations. Like, I don't know. I don't think a non-compete clause. Hell, I'm just talking out of my ass. I don't know. Never mind. I'm just gonna shut up. I don't know how that works legally.
That's why I kind of threw it out there. I wasn't sure, but I'm trying to think of if this becomes a trend. I think that the suits will try to stamp down on it. That's just my opinion on it, though.
Doing a quick Google search on non-compete clauses or non-compete contracts. So, typically non-compete clauses are used to protect intellectual property and trade secrets. Non-compete clauses can become unenforceable if they try to be too strict. And then it gives some examples. And one of those examples is controlling future employers or potential entrepreneurial expeditions for the person that's signing on. So I guess it's maybe a legal gray area. They might be able to say, you can't go work for our direct competitor for a while without, some penalty, but they couldn't stop someone from joining their own or from creating their own business. Seems like that, according to the language on this thing, is unenforceable. Granted, I'm just on rocketlawyer.com reading up on how non-compete clauses work. I'm sure the actual law is a lot more nuanced than that.
Well, maybe it is rocket science.
Maybe it is.
It's just I'm trying to think of how they would try to stem that, because that's one thing I've learned about the gaming industry after paying closer attention to it in the news the last several years, especially during the podcast, is that if given the opportunity, the big studios, 9 times out of 10, will be major dicks.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds like I absolutely hate video games when I say something like that, but it's more that I like video games and I'm able to say that. Because it's one of those things that you start noticing the pattern after you pay attention for a while. That, the gaming industry does not view their consumers all that well. I mean, hell, just look at some of the big names, some of their Twitter feeds. It gets rather toxic. And I'm not even going to throw out a name. I mean, most of them, you can find something. It's just some is more than others. And I realize that everybody has a bad day. Everybody gets angry at over a potential catastrophe going on, or a potential backlash, or a review bomb or something. But there are certain individuals in the gaming industry that tends to it pops up a lot more often, and those tend to be the ones that are in more power. I think that's fair to say, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So I'm viewing this as, if it goes the way you think it will, I think that they'll try to control their employees a lot more. I mean, the forced arbitration in Riot, where, if I recall correctly, that makes it so they're unable to sue based on discrimination. That seems wrong somehow, right?
Yeah, it does. Where's their studio located? Like the actual physical location?
They are in Texas.
Huh. Okay. Well, if there's a state that they stand a chance of actually being able to enforce that in, Texas is one of the few. But still, I feel like that would be extremely hard to enforce.
Let's see.
I don't know.
Well, looks like they have a studio in Texas, but they also are based out of Los Angeles. So I'm not sure which is which. Or where the walkout is.
Well, if they're in California, I bet you that won't hold up in a court of law. Their whole inability to sue, to have lawsuits or whatever.
Yeah, which I know.
My brain just suddenly
I know it's a lot
me.
more nuanced than just inability to sue, but getting into the definition of forced arbitration, there's it's a rather wordy article on Wikipedia.
Well, forced arbitration, at least in the United States, typically rules in favor of the company instead of the individual.
Yeah, because of course corporations are the more important thing, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And in the United States, corporations are people too, right?
Well, unless they do something bad, then they are no longer people and they cannot be punished for it, like a person would.
Right.
So they get all the benefits and none of the downsides.
I want to be a corporation. Can I be that instead of a human person? I want benefits with no downsides.
I would settle for you having a decent internet connection. Because
Me
you
too.
dropped out again there. But I think I understood what you said, so let's go with that.
Gotcha. Alrighty. I think we'll move it right along then, if you have nothing else to add, because I don't think I do.
No, I think you added plenty to that. It's just, I think... I still think we're going to be missing out on some potential real masterpieces of video games. Or maybe the indie scene will become a lot more important, because that's also the other possibility that we didn't really highlight. That, there's going to be, not an entry point in the AAA industry, but more people, doing the early days of Apple, and just building things on their own in their garage.
Yeah. I mean, I think the answer to that question is yes.
Yes, and
we will see both of those things happen.
But that was mostly just to avoid us talking about Randy Pitchford. Let's be honest.
Indeed.
Because the guy's a little bit of a douche. And by a little bit, I mean a lot.
Yep. Okie dokie. So, Community Corner. We did receive a video
from Jim.
thing from Jim.
But we wanted to...
It was extremely long. Sorry.
When I said, and we want to take a lot more time to study it, more to watch some of the responses to it, because we both watched it, and I think we both agreed that it was very wordy.
Yeah, I want to watch it again, because I had to watch it in sort of split chunks. I want to sit down and go through the whole thing at once, and then listen or watch some of the responses to the video.
I watched it pretty much straight through, outside of asking if you wanted to talk about it this week. But I was less than enthused by it, mostly just because of how much they felt like they had padding on it, or that it felt like it could have used a little bit more editing. Especially when he talked about, maybe I should have talked about this before.
Yeah. But what we're going to do is we're going to take some time to go through it. We're going to watch it again, study it, go through some of the other responses, and then come back and talk about it next week as a, I guess, general topic or a news topic.
Yeah, unless EA catches on fire or something.
Yeah. But
did I just jinx EA? Or did that unjinx them? Oh no, we'll see.
I don't know, my brain's on fire.
Well, that's a first.
But anyways, so we will come back to that next week. We appreciate the suggestion, Jim. Do you want to put a link maybe to that main video in the show notes?
I'll drop it in.
So that people can go watch it.
Yeah, if you have a response to it or any thoughts for it, you could send them to vglpodcast@gmail.com or tweet them to us, VGLPodcast. And we will include it into the general discussion next week. We just wanted to take a little bit more time with it because, it was an hour, 10 minutes on just the first one. And each one of them, each one of the responses are approaching that time, if not more.
Yeah. There's a couple of shorter ones, but most of them are very long.
Yeah,
so.
I think the first one I'm going to watch is Learn French, though, because the video spent about half the time going over the legal definition of fraud.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
And I'm sure there's something else that you could agree with, is some music.
Yeah. Go for the theme song.
And once again, yeah, my first game is... well, it's a top seller on Steam right now, so... And I have no idea how to pronounce this.
What is
Mordaru?
Mordaru.
It is a multiplayer medieval slasher, so essentially a new version of... and now I'm blanking on the name of it. Chivalry. It is a top seller on Steam right now, so there you go, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it looks interesting. There's a few people talking about in the reviews that it doesn't have a colorblind option, and because it's red versus blue and everybody bleeds like they're in anime and gets covered in blood, everybody turns red after a while. So that's definitely a problem that they have to deal with pretty soon. But overall,
yeah.
Depending on how the game runs, because Chivalry had some real performance issues at times, it could be an interesting one to check out. Especially if you like first-person slashers. So, you got anything going?
Yeah, I'm going to copy the link over right now. Trying to, anyways. Pandemic Express Zombie Escape, which is not the best name, but this sounds like an interesting game. It's got kind of a Left 4 Dead vibe, but it's a team of human players have to escape from zombies, which are controlled by another human player. And there's a train. You have to escape on the train. And it just looks like a neat take or a neat, reimagining of Left 4 Dead. And, since Valve doesn't know how to count to 3, if this is pretty good, I could get behind it.
Yeah, so I got another one immediately, and this was before my queue recycled. This was the first game that I was really excited to talk about because it looks really interesting. U-Boat. This is essentially a sandbox survival meets This War of Mine. You are in control of a German U-boat in World War II, and you have to manage your crew and keep them sane while carrying out missions. And it looks really interesting. We had something similar to this a few weeks ago in the Discovery queue. It was a multiplayer-focused game, first person, a U-boat simulator, if I recall. And that's why I thought this was popped up before, but no, this has a real, almost FTL-like appearance about it because it's controlling individuals in a crew instead, in sort of a strategy game meets sim. It looks interesting, and it is an early access. It's an expensive one, but we've already had his cubeness pick it up, so I look forward to hearing what he says about it.
Sounds interesting. It sounds like it'd be up my alley.
I'm a little concerned about the price tag because it's a $30 early access game, and that's a little bit on the expensive side, in my opinion. But that's getting up into the AA range.
Yeah.
But they're talking about a full story campaign coming in throughout the entire period of World War II, new types of ships and aircraft, botting support, adding polish. So yeah, you can see why I was interested in talking about it.
Yeah. So I got one that looks interesting. Epitasis?
Gesundheit.
Yeah, Epitasis. Looks like an open world, or not open world, but a exploration sort of puzzle type game. It doesn't say anything about combat, but it looks like you get teleported to an alien world, and technological relics, sprawling ruins, and cryptic puzzles are all that remain. If you learn their secrets, if you are to learn their secrets, you must unearth the fate of the race that has called this world their home. It's just got a really nice art style. It feels like I see some stuff in there that makes me feel like Portal, with boxes and force fields and things.
Is there any giant buttons?
Yes.
I like this.
Although I don't see like a portal gun or anything like that, but some of the looks like puzzle elements are Portal-esque. But anyways, it just looks neat. I like the art style. It feels very No Man's Sky art inspired. And that was one of the best things about No Man's Sky, aside from the million shades of pink planets. There's a lot of interesting design elements in that game.
I thought it was the consumer backlash and just watching it burn. I thought that was the best thing about No Man's Sky.
Maybe back in the day, but No Man's Sky is an excellent game at this point.
Yeah, and now it's given false hope to many games as service games.
I don't think No Man's Sky is a games as service game, though.
Yeah, but people keep saying, well, maybe it could turn into a No Man's Sky. Looking at you, Anthem.
I see the comparison. But...
So, I got Puyo Puyo Champions, which this is the second game of this series that's come on Steam in the last, year? The last one was Tetris, wasn't it? Easy to learn, tough to master. Challenge friends and family in local multiplayer or compete globally via online matchmaking, because that's usually how you do it. Built for all ages, this puzzle game comes with a surprisingly competitive edge. I'm not sure how to describe this because it isn't quite match 3, but it's close enough. It's sort of a match 3 Tetris. It does feel like it should be a mobile game, but then again, these type of puzzle games typically feel like it because that's a majority of the crappier mobile games. So that's not really indicative of this game's quality, but more just the type of game.
Yeah.
But it's also on the cheaper side of $10, just released. So there you go. You're up.
Triton Survival. This one just popped over. I'm getting a lot of VR titles for some reason. Triton Survival. So, sci-fi space survival crafting game. I mean, we've seen a million of these, but I'm also a sucker for this type of game. So
no wonder it shows up.
Makes sense that it would be here for me. It doesn't look particularly special or different.
I think I'll appreciate what I just got.
But I like it. And okay, what'd you get?
Star Wars Battlefront Classic 2004 edition. So the original Star Wars Battlefront, which... it's been on Steam the entire time, hasn't it? Or is this a
Battlefront 2 was on Steam.
So they just recently re-added this, I guess, building up the hype for Star Wars. It was, May the 4th. 4 days ago? Because we are after
They may
midnight.
have done not necessarily a remaster, but a big update, because they did that with Battlefront 2.
I'm not sure if they changed
where they added
anything.
They added first-person mode, I think. I think I read somewhere that they put the first-person mode in the first one, which originally, the original Battlefront 1 and 2 only had third-person mode, but Battlefront 2 added a first-person mode after the 2015 Battlefront released.
So you can play a good Battlefront in first-person?
Yes, exactly. It plays pretty well in first person. This Battlefront 2 does.
I mean, it is a 2004 game, so it's not going to be cutting edge graphics, but it doesn't look terrible either.
No.
I mean, there's definitely some rough textures, there's some rough geometry, but it's 2004. Besides, it's not like EA's going to do anything good with the license, most likely. I just got Pandemic Express, so I could skip that. Hello. Assuming you haven't gotten this. I think this would be one you'd skip anyway. You got anything?
No, I just finished my queue. I had like 7 or 8 VR titles. I still have like everything. I
still have 5 remaining after this. This is an early access title that. Ooh, that is quite the price on it. The Last Epoch. The Last Epoch combines time travel, exciting dungeon crawling, engrossing character customization, and endless replayability to create an action RPG for veterans and newcomers alike. So, interesting combination. Adding time travel in that. You have it on your want list, but then again, what do you not have on your want list?
Yeah, who knows when I've seen this.
Looks like beta it will be available until our full release, which is slated for April 2020. So you have it, just under a year for their slated release. I mean, the question is if they make that or not, because, yeah. Let's see. Okay. Wait, what? At full release slated for April 2020, the game will be priced lower than the early access price. What?
Yeah, what?
Supporting now lets your voice shape the design of the game. So you're paying a premium to be able to get in early. Okay. Interesting way to play that, but sure. Looks like they have an interesting class system of 5 base classes, and then each class could branch off into 3 different subclasses. Like, the rogue could be a falconer, a marksman, or a blade dancer. Sentinel could be a forge guard, a void knight, or a paladin. Primalist could be a shaman, a beastmaster, or a druid. So, interesting. It looks like the acolyte is pretty much just all undead stuff. Warlock, necromancer, or lich. So, yeah, pick your flavor of evil, right?
Yeah.
Little concerned that they have a cosmetic currency in this. Buying the Last Epoch through Steam gets you the Ancient Gladiator support pack, which has 350 cosmetic coins. So that's a warning sign, right?
Yeah.
That's a big warning sign.
350 worth. 350.
And I just got a VR title, but it's a popular one, so I'll throw it on my list anyway. Beat Saber. Supposedly a really good VR title, as long as you don't have anything within striking distance and you in real life. 3D, just, you know, well, you're beating, it's a VR rhythm game. And having to follow the lights with your motion controls. I have seen a few videos of people trying to play it and knocking the ever-living fuck out of someone, though. So make sure there's nothing within arm's reach of you. That's at least fragile. But, yeah, I'll add that to my list anyway. Oh, that looks terrible. Hang on, processing. This is interesting enough that I'll throw it on. It's an expensive game, or at least for what it is. A single player and co-op survival adventure. So, could be up your alley, right? Maybe.
Fade to silence.
Yeah, it doesn't look terrible. I mean, there's some definite odd screenshots in this, but then there's some that look actually somewhat pretty. Looks like it has some sort of demonic thing going on with it, which is interesting. But then there's some sort of like hellhound dog sledding.
Hellhound dog sledding? Good. Scary looking things? Not so good.
Let's see, this game is entirely too linear and obvious for that. For it to be a real survival game. So it looks like it's sending you down a very set path, and it looks like it has some crashing issues, and that's causing some real bad reviews for it. But even then, it's still sitting at 64, so that's something at least. So it's not terrible, but something to be wary of.
Right.
That doesn't look all that interesting. And that looks like a mobile port. Yeah, that's a very, very, very basic platformer, so I am done with my queue. Yeah.
So, you had 7, I had 3. Although I had like 6 or 7 VR titles. I don't know what was up with me getting so many VR titles this week.
I had 2 VR titles, and I added one to my list just because it's popular,
Yeah.
So, I'm following around, I'm following the kids, man.
Woohoo!
I'll be popular one of these days.
Chase that youth.
Just don't chase it too close, otherwise you end up like Randy Pitchford.
Oh, no.
Or do you even know about that one?
Yeah, I think I do. The porn on the USB drive? Yeah.
Yeah, the work USB drive. Yeah, you lost. Oh. boy. Yeah, I feel bad for buying the Borderlands games. What can I say?
Fair.
Well, something else I could say is the socials, right?
Indeed. Hit him with them socials, Rage.
Well, I've been Caffeine Rage. You can find me over on YouTube with Gaming with Caffeine Rage. You can find me on Twitter, Gaming with CR, and maybe someday you'll find me over on Twitch again because, yeah, I've been putting it off, firing it up again because it's a bit of an investment, and I still have YouTube to get going again. So that's been my big focus. And you've been
Gaming Psychologist. If you want to find my stuff on the YouTubes, you can do so by searching for Gaming Psychologist. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can do so at JMA4707, where I tweet about all kinds of different things. And if you want to be my friend on Steam, you can send a friend request to JR34707.
And if you wish to know exactly what episode of the podcast you're coming from, the password for this week is Biff. Biff seemed like a fitting one, don't you think so?
Indeed.
And I did see it on my list, so there we go. And once again, if you wish to contact us, well, if not directly through the podcast, you can do so at vglpodcast@gmail.com with your letters, voicemails, game-related topics, or just tweet them to us at vglpodcast. If you wish to be one of our lovely, lovely patrons, you can do so over at patreon.com/vglpodcast. And our patrons have supported us through our Podbean account, vglpodcast.podbean.com, which hosts, well, the show, the RSS feed, links to all our stuff. But if you don't wish to mess with RSS, you can find us on iTunes, Google Play, or your podcatcher of choice. Except for that one, because fuck that one. And I can't remember which one it is. Mm-hmm. But Jared probably does. And he's nodded off.
Are you talking about Spreaker?
Yeah, that one. The one I could never say properly.
Gotcha.
Maybe you should try that one again sometime.
I probably should. I've actually got an email from them that's like, hey, your free storage is full. Do you want to come change it or maybe upgrade? I'm just like, nah, it's fine.
It probably has like episode 20 on it. That's probably where the RSS conversion went. But something else that, that isn't full is our intro and outro music, and that's a terrible transition, but let's go for it anyway. It's On the Ground by Kevin McLeod, and our Discovery Key music is Doobly Doo by the same artist. You can find his work at incompetech.com, and
as always, as his lovely music starts to roll across my voice, bye-bye now.
See you next time.
Bye-bye. Oh, you saying that reminds me of something. So, I don't know if this will be Frankie content or stick in the regular show, but one of Katie's friends, like, they're trying to, like, get us to be friends, like, so her friend's husband and me, and so we're all in this group chat, and we've started talking, like, a little bit, and he brings up, like, a couple of video games that he plays, and asking me what kind of games that I play, and then all of a sudden he's like, hell yeah, you should try Scum. Scum's really cool. I like that a lot. And I was like, Scum, is that the Devolver Digital Battle Royale game? He's like, yeah, I love Battle Royale games. That, and Fortnite, and PUBG. And I just posted in the chat, I was like, I'm not sure that we're going to get along all that well. But, you know. It's interesting, like, he doesn't fit sort of the air quotes demographic for those types of games. I don't think he's in their target audience. He's in his like mid 40s. But I don't know. I suppose anybody could like Battle Royale. Mm-hmm. It just seems to be that younger kids like them more than older adults. But yeah, what do I know?
I guess it also depends on just how much of a fan of, I guess, thrillers you would be because of how the tension builds up.
Yeah. Don't know about that. Have to ask him about that stuff next time we chat.
whenever you ask him, so do you play any real games?
He asked me what kind of games that I play, and I was like, oh, stuff that's a lot slower paced, that doesn't really have an ending. I was like Factorio, Space Engineers, Kerbal Space Program, EVE Online. And he was like, oh, you're one of those people. And I didn't respond in the chat from it. I just kind of shook my head like, yeah, I'm one of those people.
Yeah, and fuck you.
Get off my space lawn.
Well, if you want, I could leave them
fake battle royale game.
If you want, I could leave them in the bottom of the mines in Stardew Valley.
Nice.
I'm like 10 levels away from it now.
Fancy.
Yeah, still playing it.
Me too, although not as much. My kid wanted to play Lego Marvel Superheroes instead of
I'm also
Stardew Valley.
I'm making my farm look a lot more pretty, so I'll show you next time I take a screenshot of it. I'm still in the winter though, so I'm putting down walkways so I have a clear path through my farm now.
Gotcha. But yeah,